back on. Oh, there we go. I'm on now. I am on. I'm so glad that you all are here. I just wanted to create a place for us to process through the things that have happened this week. And I know that there is a lot of fear. I also know that we are, as a congregation, a majority of one mind, but not all of one mind. And so I really didn't want to address too much of this in worship. I wanted us to, to encourage us, but also to create a place where those of us who are struggling can just have some time to process, to grieve, to just let God take care of us. So I'm going to invite us to look at the story of Elijah, and I'm going to invite us to look at the story through the lens of seas, not seas like the waves, although those are great seas, but sea as in Charlie. And so we're gonna look at crying out to God. We're gonna look at, let me get my C's here, caring, how God cares for us. We're gonna look at community, the role community can play, and all of this will be how we pray. Believe it or not, we're going to look a little bit at confession, and then we're going to look at commitment. So I wanted you to hear this story. It's one that's familiar to many of us, but Elijah is one of the best-known prophets in the Old Testament, right? And he does some amazing things. So he had just done this miraculous display of power, of God's power. And then he was threatened. So Ahab told Jezebel was the queen, all that Elijah had done and how he'd kill all of her prophets by the sword. Then Jezebel sent a message to Elijah saying, "So may the gods do to me and more also, if I do not make your life one of them by this time tomorrow." So she threatened him. And so he was afraid, and he got up and he fled for his life. And he came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and he left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came down under a solitary broom tree. He asked that he might die. And here he just had this great display of power, but one person in authority threatened him, and he's about to give up. He said, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take my life away, for I am no better than my ancestors." And then he lay down under the broom tree and fell asleep. And suddenly an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." He looked, and there at his head was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and he drank, and he lay down again. And then the angel of the Lord came a second time, touched him and said, "Get up and eat, or the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank, and then he went in that strength for 40 days and 40 nights to the mountain of God. And he came to a cave, and he spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." And the Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." And this is the part that I know you all have heard. Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And he answered, I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, have thrown down your altars, killed your prophets with a sword, and I alone am left. And they are seeking my life to take it away. Then the Lord said to him, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram. And he goes on about some other people that you will anoint. And he said, Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. This story reminds us that we can cry out to God, that we can tell God exactly what we're feeling, that doesn't mean that we don't trust God, that doesn't mean that that we lack faith. It just means that God is ready to hear what we have to say. And God will sit there and listen to us rage, listen to us cry, and just be there with us. So that's the first C that I want us to think about. And so we're going to allow some of that sound of sheer silence. I want to invite you all to close your eyes and to take a deep breath in. Let it out slowly. And another deep breath in and out. As you breathe in, I invite you to breathe in that awesome power of God that sometimes shows up in the silence. As you breathe out your fears. And now I invite you to picture yourself in a wilderness. Maybe in a cave, maybe at the beach, but in a place where you are all alone. And in your holy imagination, I invite you to look around and to listen, to smell, to feel. And as you are in this place, you know that it is a safe place, that there is no one who can hurt you. And you see a person approaching, but strangely, you're not afraid. And as that person gets near to you, you recognize it's Jesus. What does Jesus look like to you? And Jesus says to you, cry out. Tell me what's on your heart. So just spend a couple of moments telling Jesus what's on your heart, and don't hold anything back. And then I invite you to look into his eyes. What do you see in the eyes of Jesus? And Jesus knows that you need something. And he asks you, what do you need? What do you need from me? How do you answer him? And as you look in Jesus' eyes, you see, you recognize that he wants to provide all that you need. What does it feel like to be cared for by Jesus? And then you tell him, I feel all alone. I feel isolated, a stranger in my own land. And Jesus says to you, oh, there are thousands ready to join you. What does it feel like going from feeling isolated to knowing that you're surrounded by a community? And then we recognize that we do have some things to confess. In our own fear, we feel hatred and contempt for those who put us in this position. Try looking into Jesus' eyes and telling him what you need to confess. And then Jesus looks at you and says, you need to go back. I have work for you to do. What does that feel like? God, it is hard for us to know. Hard for us to know what you want in this moment. Hard for us to see how 4 years in your lifespan is not even a drop in the bucket. How it feels overwhelming to us. But how you promise us that you'll be with us every single step of the way. So we pray that as we come together to process, to pray, to cry out, to hear your call, that you will continue to remind us that we are not alone, that your love has been, is, and always will be surrounding us, within us, and around us. Help us to be part of that love so that we truly can say that love does indeed always win. Amen. So I want to invite you to think about what you're feeling right now. What are your primary feelings? And if you want, you can think, are we going to have the Mentimeter, Bo? Did you get the email with the Mentimeter? Let me see. Maybe we'll have it, or maybe we won't. So while we're waiting for that, let us go back. Why don't you turn to somebody who's near you? If you don't have somebody near you, you can partner up with somebody and move to them and share with them kind of what your primary feelings are right now. Is it anger? Is it disappointment? Is it sadness? Is it fear? Is it, try to use all of those, words, not just, one or another, but try to capture how you're feeling and share those in pairs. Did you get it? Okay. So you can continue talking, but I'm going to invite you to pull out your phones and to go to menti.com, MENTI.com. Yes, please, Bo. And it should ask for a code. I'm going to give it to you, and then Bo's going to display it, but the code is 22440837. 22440837. And if you're joining us online, you can also do this, menti.com. And the question is, how are you feeling this week? So you can just write that you're given three options or three choices. You can write three different things. How are you feeling this week? Can you put it on the screen, Bo? Okay. Oh, there we go. 22440837. How are you feeling this week? Can we put the code back up too, Bo, please? Two 22440837. So if you want to go ahead and present the slide now, Bo, it should populate. Oh, here we go. So we are feeling angry, sad, scared, fearful, anxious, hopeless, deceived, frustrated, confused, disappointed, shocked, resigned, vulnerable, invisible, ignorant, numb, discouraged, melancholy. So the bigger the words, the more people who have responded in that way. Tired, okay, frightened, powerless, glad I have a passport. Ooh, okay. Definitely numb, distraught, miserable. Does that say disgusted? A lot of feelings, right? A lot of feelings. And it's okay to cry out those feelings to God, because that's part of how God listens to us. But God does want to care for us, and part of that care is caring for ourselves. So you can stay in your partners, and I want you to think about, what are you going to do to care for yourself during this season? So for example, one of the things I have done is I am not reading the news at all. I am taking a fast. We can call that a fast, right, in the church. I'm fasting from news at this point because I am valuing my peace, my heart, and I'm taking a break from that and taking a break some from social media. Just trying to, keep all of that at arm's length. But there are other things you can do. You can be in nature. You can pet your dogs and cats. Let them purr on you. There's nothing like a purring cat. You can rest. You can read. So what are some things, share with your partners, what are some ways that you're going to care for yourselves during the coming weeks, days, months, however long it needs to be? And if you want to keep your phones out, there's the second slide, Bo, for the Mentimeter. And allowing for 3 answers again. How are you going to care for yourself? Well, Bo's got to go to the next one. Are you seeing the second slide? There we go. Aren't we great at figuring this technology out? Yeah, that's okay. How can you care for yourself? The code? Yes. It is. Let me find it. Okay. Recently viewed. I think it's 22440837. 22440837. And it should come up. Oh, So far, tequila's pretty high up there. It might mean more than one person has said tequila. We have pray, we have exercise, meditate, read, take naps, pray for our president, walking, trying to find the good, avoid Facebook, time with friends, color and sing, read the word. News fast, beach. Yes, we have the beautiful beach. I see. Tequila's getting smaller. Okay. Let me see if I can see it better on my phone. All righty. This is taking a lot of tech. Okay. Beach, volunteer, color and sing, avoid Facebook, turn off, sleep, read the word, news feed, respite, limit news media, not engage in slander, laugh, that's a good one, meditate, relax, withdrawal, nature walks, be an ally, try to find the good, quiet, volunteer, I think I said that one already, meditate, spend time with family, outdoor life, work out, walk, read less news. Tequila is still pretty big. That's craft. I think that was the one I didn't. Mingle. Craft, mingle. Those are all really good things. And I want to invite you, as you think about these ways of caring for yourself, to see them as ways that God is caring for you. So remember in the story with Elijah, he went to sleep under a tree, and then when he got awakened, there was food and there was water. And so these are ways that, yes, we're caring for ourselves, but what we're actually doing is receiving the gifts of care that God is offering to us. So allow yourself to be loved by God in that way, to be cared for by God in that way. So the next thing is that Elijah realized that he was not alone. God reminded him that there were at least 7,000 people that were still his, the followers. So I wanted us to think about what is it that we need from community? What do we need from our community? And for this one, I'm just going to invite you to share a couple of words. What is it that you need from community, from our community right now as you're dealing with all of this? And you can just raise your hand and I'll come to you.
Support.
Support.
Open hearts and open minds.
Yeah. Who else? What do you need? Here, I'm going to get you to talk to the mic because we are live streaming still.
A place where it's okay to cry.
Yeah. A place where it's okay to cry, to be ourselves, to feel the feelings.
Feel safe.
Oh, feel safe. Absolutely. We definitely need places to feel safe. Whoops, sorry.
I can't lift my hand very high.
That's okay. You're good.
We need a place where people can be human beings among other human beings.
Yeah. Yep. Where we can be human and know that there are other human beings around us. What else? Anybody else have any?
Just someone to listen, hear you, and love you still.
Yeah. someone to listen and hear you and love you so that you know that you matter, right? How you feel matters. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Break down barriers.
Break down barriers. That is a tough one. That's absolutely a tough one. Anyone else? Oh, sorry.
I think that I need a heart of understanding. And I'm really struggling with understanding, and I want to be open to understand. And that's where I am right now. I'll get there, but that's what I want from the community, just so we can all understand.
Absolutely. Any others? So like grief, this is a process. So we need to just allow ourselves to be where we are, and be open to what that next step is going to be. So this one's going to be a little hard for us right now, in the midst of our grief. And yet, I think, Gwen was alluding to it, and Brian was alluding to it. It's this confession that whether it's, our hatred, our disdain, our anger towards the other. I had someone who, as I was coming in, she was walking out. This was after the service, and, she thanked me for the service, and then she said, "I'm one of those who voted for Trump." And, and she said, "And I think that there's still a place for me here." And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely," So how do we move? Bo sent me a whole bunch of wonderful podcasts and articles and things as I was preparing for this today. And one of them was, and I love that it's 2 more C words, how do we move from contempt to curiosity? And I have to admit, I have contempt. I look at these people and think, sorry, even these people, right? I mean, good gosh, listen to my language. And, so I have to be very careful. But there's a sense of, what were you thinking? Are you ignorant? Do you not, understand? Do you hate people? And what I have discovered in the little bit of listening and curiosity that I've been able to get to is that we are presented with 2 completely different pictures of reality, depending on what news you read and watch. And so they truly, the ones, and again, I'm trying not to use us and them, but the ones who voted in a way that's making us fearful, they weren't hearing anything about Project 2025, didn't even know it existed. They weren't hearing anything about the plans to, take away women's health care, federal abortion bans, complete bans. And I have a daughter who's hoping to get pregnant, and I'm thinking, if she has an ectopic pregnancy, thank God we live in Delaware, but, so they hadn't even heard of that, because that's not what they're being fed. They're being fed that, all of our problems are coming from the border, and that, all of our economy is, because of Biden's policies, and not because of, let's see, COVID, when we were shut down for a year and a half, and, everything, so many things shut down. And even now, we're struggling to get people to go back to work. They'd rather work remotely. I mean, there's so much there, it's complicated. But if I can understand that their picture of reality is different than mine, then that helps me not be so contemptuous. And some of us may not be ready to be there yet, and that is okay. So this is not meant to make any of us feel guilty, but it is a place if we're going to try to, like Brian said, tear down those walls, we're going to have to get curious. And I'm hoping that they get curious too, right? And often what I've found is that if I start with my curiosity, eventually they will ask me my opinion. So, sometimes it takes a while to get there, but I think there's, groups of people who feel like they've never been heard. And I think we have to listen to them too, as hard as that is. So that is another one of our C's. But our last C is to try to commit. So we may not feel like we can take on the world right now. And we may still feel afraid, disappointed, struggling, anguish. And yet, God gives us the power to choose. And if we do one small act of kindness every day, we start building up those muscles again to where we can face down that sense of injustice. So I want you to think about, what are you willing to commit to doing? Also wanted to give you, we need to resist, right? We're still called to resist evil, oppression, and injustice in whatever forms they present themselves. So there are some great ways to resist. There is an app called Goods Unite Us. Goods, Goods Unite Us. And it is an app that tells us pretty much as many as they can of the businesses and where they give their money to. And so we can find out who's supporting causes that we don't agree with. And we can choose not to. Now here I have another confession, and I can do this in a smaller group. I really need to give up Amazon, and I really can't yet. It's too convenient for me. I don't have time to go shopping, go from store to store to find what I need. But Bezos is a huge supporter of the president-elect. And I need to figure out a way to disentangle myself. But in the meantime, I can definitely, stay away from Arby's. I don't like them anyway, I don't eat meat, but that makes it easy, right? So in this app, it's really kind of cool. In this app, there's either a donkey or an elephant. So it's not even a partisan app, anybody can get it. But A&W Restaurants, they support Republican causes. AAA. Some of these I haven't even heard of, so I'm kind of skipping through them, but Arby's, Absolute. Sorry, guys, if you drink that kind of, is that vodka? Let's see. What are some others that we know? Ace, 3M, Ace Hardware, Act Fluoride, Act 2 Popcorn, Acuity Brands, and we're just in the A's. And I could scroll down, and a lot of them are things I don't even know about. But to me, I feel like this gives me some way to act, way to resist, even if it's small, Aeropostale, Aerojet, Afresh, Afrin. So, and again, we're not even through the A's yet. So there's all kinds of, and it goes all the way A to Z. So if you're curious and you're about to buy, let's look up Taoist shoes, QRST. Uber Eats and Uber, they're all good. Let's see, Twisted Tea, bad. Turtle Wax, Turkey Hill, Tupperware. I wonder if it's even in here. So it's called Goods Unite Us. GOODS. If you go to the App Store, and you put Goods Unite Us. Oh, yes, it just says GUU. I'm sorry. But it is there. Tractor Supply, Bo, sorry, babe. No more Tractor Supply for you. Home Depot's a bad one, yeah. We always go to Lowe's because of that. We've known that one for a while. Is toilet duck really a thing? I don't know what toilet duck is. TJ Maxx is good. Ooh, Tito's bad. Uh-huh. I know, I'm sorry. My vodka. I'm looking for towels, like that's a shoe brand. T-A. Target has a donkey and an elephant. So I don't know if that means they don't give to political causes or that they give to a little bit of both. Tanqueray is good. Ooh. Let's see. Taco Bell is bad. Anyway. Yep. That's a good way to resist, right? And there are other ways to resist, to commit to trying to, I'm on a site on Facebook, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, because it was called Elect Kamala, who talk about wearing blue bracelets just to let other people know that, and this was mostly for people who were in like really red states, which we're lucky we're not. I joined the ACLU because they vowed to fight and have said that, there are things that the state can do to resist, and that they're going to work with Governor Matt Meyer and try to, not allow, or at least not cooperate when they come in to do mass deportations and some of these other things. So I want you to think, and again, just talk amongst yourselves just for a minute. What do you feel like you can commit to today to continue the resistance? And maybe what you commit to is just caring for yourself and recognizing that that's as far as I can get right now, and that's okay too. And I will be right back. Find a different brand, huh? Is that what you're going to commit to, Gwen? So we're going to close our time by just remembering that we are baptized. Gwen is running to find the only shells I could find backstage because I forgot to do this between the services, but these are huge. I don't know that you all want to take one of these home and put it in your pocket. So I think Gwen's going to find us some smaller ones. But I do love the shells because they are such beautiful reminders to us. And I say this, my kids used to laugh at me because they would just say it because they'd heard it so many times when I baptize children. And I would say, we're giving you this shell, and it used to be a home for an animal. And it was like God's first mobile home, right? So wherever the animal went, it was home. But then we don't give you the shell with the animal in it, and that it's empty. And that reminds us then that in those empty places, that's like the empty tomb. And that reminds us that it's in those empty places that God's light and God's love shine most powerfully. And so it also reminds us that you are beautiful, chosen, beloved children of God, every single one of us. And so just wanted to give you that time to come and to get a shell. If you would like to continue to pray at the altar, you may. This will be the end of our service, so there's nothing after this. But just wanted to invite you to come and to get a shell, to remember that you were baptized, and to know that we are a community that is much, much stronger than anything that threatens us. So whenever you are ready, you can come forward and get a shell. Here, I've got one for you. Yes, remember you're a beautiful daughter of God, and you are loved.
Looks like the service here is breaking up. Thank you so much for being a part of the service. I hope that the Mentimeter was a good opportunity for you to share and participate in a way that transcends the barriers between in person and online. So thank you for being part of everything. Let me change one of my settings here. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, now I'm better. Um, and so may you be blessed with the sense of God's peace. I really liked Joel Stein's New York Times opinion piece and podcast in which he encouraged us to be less contemptuous and more full of curiosity about each other and about where we stand. We all tend to, I think it's a confession of mine, we all tend to rely on shorthand, uh, sort of facades that we create for one another. So labels that we might place on one another, and that's especially true in this sort of politically charged atmosphere in which none of us are the labels that we place on each other. Um, there are, I think sometimes and this is another confession of mine, that I tend to sort of place things, as much as I don't like to be considered, sort of a black and white kind of thinker. I think a lot of our thinking process can trend toward the binary, good or bad, good or evil. A sense of, an election in which, we were voting for either values for this on which this country stands, or something somewhat less than that. It's not, I think, appreciative of the broad diversity that we are as Americans. And so I hope this is an opportunity to continue to explore, in a sense of curiosity, this extraordinary gift that we have of this country in which we live. The other thing, there was a David French interview on a podcast in which he offered as an opportunity for us to commit, caring for those who are most vulnerable in our society is a calling for us all, especially in the wake of this particular election, in which so many promises, Trump made so many promises about being vindictive towards certain populations in this country. And so caring for them and standing up for them, I think, is a clarion call in the coming months and years of this new administration, and maybe not so new administration, returning administration. And the other is to speak the truth to ourselves. I think, first of all, that gets back to that idea of not necessarily giving in to the temptation to bifurcate everything into sort of black or white, and to appreciate in a sense of curiosity what indeed is the broader truth that spans and transcends easy kinds of reductions that we might be tempted to take, but also to speak the truth about values for which we live and stand, and to continue to be that voice, sometimes that agitating voice, in our local communities, in our families, and in our country, and in our world. So may God bless you as we live out those callings, whatever administration. I love one of the articles that I read that mentioned cultures aren't made in elections, cultures are decided on day by day. And so these are the days in which we live, in which we get to be a part of what defines the culture of our country and our land. May God bless you, and may God bless America. as we seek to be the people that God calls us to be day by day. Amen.